On to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. And welcome to the extra time segment for Everton 2, Nottingham Forest nil. We've finally got a win to talk about. Well, legit win. I'm not really counting the one where Burnley's goalkeeper boosted it in his own net, but we finally got an actual win that we won ourselves. Two brilliant goals from Idrissa Gana Gueye and Dwight McNeil, and loads of talking points, of course. So me and Paul are going to get straight down to looking at every minute of this game, which was, let's be honest, it was frenetic as we thought it would be. It was certainly it was must not lose, but the win just makes it so much sweeter, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a 6-pointer in every way, shape, and form, and
Absolutely.
it was a scrappy game, and between two sides that are just not very good. And when two sides who are down there fighting for their lives and a draw is no good to them, it usually makes for a pretty, not an entertaining game, then an enthralling game. It's the opposite when it's the other end of the table, when it's two sides who are brilliant, who are competing for a league or something. It's usually just two teams who cancel each other out because they're too scared to lose, whereas a draw didn't suit Forest or Everton in this one, so it was just all on the line. But yeah, as you mentioned, loads of talking points, but it was just a good feeling to come out to Goodison feeling happy for once, because even when we
When's
won a
last
few weeks
time?
ago, yeah, I can't, not since last year, literally since I can't, not since 2023. When was the actual last home game that Everton won before Burnley? I know our last game that we won, we
It
went
was
like three
It was
months, didn't we?
Chelsea at Goodison, wasn't it?
Was it that long ago? That
The
was November,
Chelsea
wasn't it?
game,
Jesus, or early December. Bloody hell.
mid-December
So
that was.
yeah, it feels like it's been. I think it literally has been almost half a season since we've come out to Goodison, just feeling happy and ready to go out on a Saturday night or go home and enjoy your Saturday night, whatever your plans were. Because even the result a few weeks ago was just laced with just anger and frustration, and there was none of that this time. It was just a lot better a feeling. So yeah, I don't think it gets us away from relegation completely, but it was a massive step in the right direction, and it's our fate is well and truly in our own hands now, and there's nothing worse going into the final few weeks of the season with panicking and thinking we just need other teams to do us a favour, and for this team to win here and for this team to get beat with in this game, and it doesn't really seem like that's going to be the case this time. We just can focus on Everton's results.
Well, I wouldn't speak too soon. I mean, this is only our second win in 2024, so I'm not gonna, count the chickens. I know we've got a more favourable running perhaps than some of the other
Uh,
teams down there, but
Yeah, I think we've got 5 games left, and we are, as of now, 5 points clear of Luton in 18th with a game in hand. So Luton have got 4 games. So Luton have only got 12 points to play for, and Everton have got 15, and Everton have undoubtedly got the easier running when you compare them. So
I mean,
yeah,
without
as I was saying,
being
it's not a case of okay, everyone just go out and and forget about relegation now. You can just have a nice summer. You can start your summer now, but it was just a big load of anxiety that we don't have to carry over the next couple of weeks, which is what we were doing last year. Because I didn't want to have to experience what we did last year when you went to bed, or I did anyway. You went to bed and got up in the morning with it on your mind, constantly
yeah,
just thinking what's going to happen on Saturday? What happens if we lose again? Does that mean relegation's nailed on? And it doesn't feel like it's going to be the case this time, or at least it doesn't. It's Yeah, people know what I'm saying. We can relax a little bit and enjoy and hopefully enjoy these last couple of games rather than just being absolute panic stations.
I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but you say there's 15 points to play for. I'm personally saying there's 9 points to play for. I'm not getting nothing out of that midweek game against that lot. The, it, I'd love to think we could, but I don't think we will. And the same with Arsenal on the final day. I think that's a free hit as well. I really think we should have enough to do it, but we've got three massive games against sides in the bottom half that we can win and should win. So they're the points that we should be playing for. I think I'm not all that optimistic about the two sides who are in the top three.
Yeah, you've got to prioritise, which is what I think Sean Dyche does in most cases. I think he definitely prioritised this game over the Chelsea one. As appalling as the Chelsea result was and the performance was, I think Dyche will have gone back into Finch Farm with his coaches at least, if not said it. If he didn't say it to the players, he'll have said it to his assistants. Right, let's just forget about that one. It's 3 points gone. no more than that. Let's just focus on getting 3 points next time. But yeah, it's just a situation Everton are in sometimes, where as much as it hurts you emotionally, there's just certain teams who you're probably going to lose to, where you just have to put it out your mind very quickly, no matter what the performance on the day was. So I think that's what Everton did against Chelsea, and that's if the game on Wednesday doesn't go the way we wanted to, that's just what we've got to do again. Just put it out your mind and focus on the one after that on the Saturday against Brentford. But just getting into this Forest game, I mean, we had a few big players who were available again, and a few players came out the side. Idrissa Gana Gueye came back into the team. He's been out the team for weeks now, and he's been sorely missed. I think he was probably the single biggest reason that we were so bad against Chelsea. If we'd have had Gueye in the team against Chelsea, I think we probably still would have lost, but it wouldn't have been we wouldn't have been near as open as we were. And he came back just in time for this Forest game, because if you were going to get anything out of this game, we had to win the midfield battle. And I think we just about managed it. What did you think of the team? And obviously, Ashley Young was still in the team, but he got dropped back to right back rather than playing on the right wing like he has been for a while now. What did you think of the team?
To be honest, it's as good as we possibly could have done. He got the selection right, I think. I mean, I'm not thrilled to see Andre Gomez starting for Everton in 2024, but I think Anana had to be dropped. I think his performance on Monday was woeful. Um, I think we looked more. Andre Gomez is slow, but he actually is quite composed on the ball. I always fear for us when he plays when we lose the ball, but when he has it, he doesn't lose it himself that often. I think that
Yeah, I don't like Andre Gomez either overall, but I understood the reason for bringing him in 100%, because he is quite composed. And unless he's going to be, in the middle of a midfield battle where the opposition are just kicking him or snapping at his heels every couple of seconds, then he can actually buy you a bit of time and get you up the pitch a little bit. Not as much as you'd like him to at times. He's not like this great creative player that we've needed him to be for years. But he's one of these players who, if he gets the ball and he gets a yard or two of space, he can just bring other players around him into it a lot more. So I understood the reason for bringing him in. And he had a bit of a mixed day, Andre Gomez. I think as I said, he was composed on the ball and he picked a few good passes, but some of his deliveries, his free kicks and his corners were just absolutely
awful,
woeful.
weren't they? But
Yeah, they were terrible, terrible, terrible. But I think he just about justified his selection, because he did um, get the ball for us in good areas, and he got us up the pitch a little bit, and he bought us some time when we needed it, especially when we were trying to play out from the back, which is what we were doing basically for the majority of the day. Forest were trying to press us high, and we just about beat their press a few times, and it was because the likes of Gomez was coming to take it off the centre halves, and he was composed enough on the ball to not panic when he had players charging at him. So he did all right. Who else came into the side?
brought Harrison back, didn't he?
Harrison, yeah. Harrison came back into the side, and Jack Harrison for me was just Jack Harrison. He
Jack
works
Harrison,
really hard. Yeah, puts a shift in. He'll always work hard. He'll always get his head down and run and try and be direct. But just a lot of the time, it's not there. The quality's not there in the final third.
I think it's just he's too one-footed. I hate the amount of times he turns back onto his left when he's running down the right. I think it's just one of them.
Yeah, but if he wasn't one-footed, he wouldn't be at Everton. Some other club would have came and took him off Leeds. A much better team would have took him off Leeds when they went down. There's a reason he's at Everton, and there's a reason if Leeds don't come up, then Everton's probably going to be his best option to stay. Well, I think again, like Andre Gomez, it wasn't a great performance from him. It was somewhere around mediocre, but it was just about good enough that he justified his selection. And I think supporters who were in the ground probably didn't come out to the ground thinking, "Oh my God, what the state of him today," sort of thing, which is what we do too often. So yeah, they were about 6 out of 10 performances for the likes of him and Gomez. But a player who I thought was absolutely brilliant was Idrissa Gana Gueye. As I said, he came back into the side, and he was Everton's man of the match, in my opinion. I know some people might give it to Pickford or might give it to McNeil for his Belton goal, but I think Idrissa Gana Gueye was the difference for Everton. If he hadn't started that game and Onana or James Garner had, then I think it's very easily, you could very easily picture Nottingham Forest scoring in that game, because Gueye was just everywhere he needed to be, and he capped it off with his one goal a season.
It's as usual, the pot shot. Usually it's like one of them every game. Normally they end up in the stands, but this time it goes in off the
Yeah.
post. It's a great finish actually. You like it.
Yeah, it's because it's not because it wasn't like it didn't, go into the net like a missile. And it wasn't like a Steven Gerrard or a Frank Lampard type of goal that so many people are used to, where players from like 25 yards out just burst the net with it. It bobbled. It was a bit of a p-roller. It was like I said to the lad next to me, that was a goal type of goal Leon Osborne used to score. That where you just think, I want to actually manage to squeeze that in. Well, it doesn't matter. It went in. Forest keepers probably should have did better with it, but I don't care. They all count, and we'll take goals however they come at the moment. So it, we took the lead at probably the right time in the game as well, because when was it, around the 20-minute mark?
Bang on half an hour. I think it was about 30 minutes.
That was a bang on half an hour. Yeah, so it's important that Everton, especially in these high pressure games, a lot of the time, it's always important that Everton take the lead, because it settles the crowd down, which is what we need to do a lot of the time, because the anxiety of the crowd gets onto the players, and we've had that discussion loads of times. Not to start that up again, but just taking the lead the way we did helped to settle everyone down, and it helped raise the players' confidence levels, and it probably allowed Dyche a bit of breathing room to think, okay, I don't have to maybe think about changes at half time. I don't need to tell the wingers to swap flanks because what we're doing is not working, etc. It probably just made everyone think, right, if we just keep doing what we're doing, then we're going to win this game, because clearly it's working. So yeah, we took the lead at the right time. And talking of Nottingham Forest, I didn't think Everton were going to keep a clean sheet in this, because for all their problems and all their issues, Nottingham Forest, they do have some good attacking players. But
Mm.
Morgan Gibbs-White's a great player. I think Chris Wood has his uses. He's had a couple of man of the match performances for Forest this season. That American kid is very highly rated. The one that got on loan, Rayner.
Rain, he did nothing. He did
Yeah,
nothing.
he's a player who's got a bit of a reputation like as being highly rated, and he's not done anything for months. So you think if ever he's going to put in his performance to justify all the hype around him, it's going to be against Everton, isn't it? He's due a big performance for Forest, and what better team for him to do it against? But yeah, just at Forest from an attacking point of view were just miserable. I was very surprised by them, very disappointed, in the sense that I thought, bloody hell, I thought Nuno Espirito Santo would have these set up better than this.
And to be honest, like I love some of the players they've got in their front line, um, but I think we nullified them quite well. There's a couple of times we went to sleep, and then we'll discuss them now, because obviously a lot of them ended up being disputed penalties and whatever. But like you say, I think that goal on the half-hour mark calms everyone down, because for me personally, like I was I wasn't actually the same as you. I was as soon as the first goal went, and I was like, I have a lot of belief that we might win this, but that soon dwindled when Ashley Young nearly gave away a hat trick of penalties. So basically, the first one, what was your take on the first one? It was that was actually Giovanni Reina who went down for the first one, and I
Be,
personally don't think it's a penalty whatsoever.
being it was weird, because I sit I sit in the Gladys Street, and the two incidents in the first half were right in front of where I was, but I, in the ground, didn't actually at the time think that there was any sort of big hoo-ha type of thing. I didn't realise that Forest were furious over them not getting penalties, because there didn't seem to be any big appeals go up from them,
The word
apart from the second one, which was the handball.
it was only Rayner himself who like threw himself like a sack of gold. To be honest with you, you watch.
Yeah,
I mean,
normally when that sort of thing happens, when opposition are looking for penalties or cheap set pieces, especially in front of the Everton fans, normally the crowd just kind of lifts up and kind of goes, "Hey, what are you playing at?" and starts getting fired up. There was none of that sort of thing, so I didn't realise that any sort of big incident had occurred, like this contentious moments where, oh my God, how have we got away with that? There wasn't that sort of general feeling around, at least where I was sat. So I only realised that there was a big bone of contention with Nottingham Forest when I came out the stadium afterwards. The only penalty appeal I remember them really claiming for was the Ashley Young second one, where it was the ball came back across him and it hit his hand. The Giovanni Reina one, where he barely touches, he does touch him. He kicks him on the heel, like or taps him on the heel. That's probably a better way to say it, because there's not a lot of contact. That would have been extremely soft, I think. I do get Forest's point that we've seen them given previously, and if that's Mo Salah doing that, or if
yeah,
that's 1,000,000% he gets it, or if that's Martinelli for Arsenal. They get it. So I do get their points, but two wrongs don't make a right. So I think any referee with some common sense and a bit of backbone, but he's not just going to blow up the minute that a team starts appealing for something. I think any referee who's worth his salt doesn't give that, because there's nowhere near enough contact to make him flop over. As you said, just because you get touched doesn't mean it's a foul. It's a contact sport at the end of the day. It's not basketball where you literally can't touch the opposition. It's football. Players are sticking the boots in and they're moving at speed. Do you know what I mean? It's only a foul if you obstruct the player, where you stop them from doing what as a result of your tackle or attempted tackle or whatever, you stop them from doing what they were planning on doing next. And he went down looking for it, so it was right that wasn't given.
It was a blatant
The
dive,
second
to be
one,
honest with you, because you see
I
after
don't even think I don't.
he controls
I wouldn't.
himself, mate.
I think
Honestly,
it's harsh. I think it's harsh to call it a dive, because it depends on what you define by a dive. I define a dive when a player goes down when he had absolutely no reason to go down and he wasn't touched. Now he was touched. Young didn't get anywhere near the ball, but he threw himself over looking for it, and it would have been an absolute kick in the nuts had that been given, considering how cheap it would have been. But I think it was right that it wasn't given personally, and now that might just be the Evertonian in me, but it seems that most neutral observers are agreeing that of all three of the penalty incidents, that was the one that was definitely should not. It was correct that it wasn't given. Now the second one, that one I think is the most controversial, because we've seen those given loads of times.
that's dead hit and miss for me.
We've seen penalties given for far less than that. The Onana one, I think it was against City earlier on the season.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, the Onana one that was given to City down at I think it was at the Park Ends, when he was a yard in front of the ball, and I can't remember who the City player was. It might have been Phil Foden. Kicked the ball and he went like that with it, like he put his arms up to basically stop the ball, smashing him in the face, and that got given a penalty. Whereas this one, Young is a good 2-3 yards away from whoever the Forest player was who tried to play it back across, and he has got his arms kind of out by his sides. Again, I've seen them given so many times, and I think Forest are probably right to be aggrieved, because they've seen other clubs get those time and time again. But if you just apply your common sense, then that probably should not be given. It seems that ball to hand has just been forgotten now. 10 years ago, would that have been a penalty? No, it absolutely would never have been a penalty, and it shouldn't be a penalty now. But it's just, you've seen it given so many times. I don't blame any club for going mad when it's not given to them.
Yeah, to be honest, I think what saved Young in that one is that he's actually pulling his hand into his body as it's his arm. That might have been what helps him get away with that one.
Maybe it is, but as I've said, we've seen loads of other incidences where penalties have been given for far less than that. I mean, as I've just mentioned, Andre Onana put his arm up around his head to stop himself getting smashed in the face, and apparently that's him deliberately using his hands to obstruct the play. So it was a 50-50 one, as you said. It shouldn't be given, but I think if it had been given, as much as we'd have all griped over it, we wouldn't have said, "Oh well, that's a disgrace," because we'd have seen it given loads of times. So that is the most controversial one, in my opinion. I'm glad it wasn't, and I think it's right that it wasn't. But if it had been given, I think Evertonians would just be sort of shrugging our shoulders, going, "Oh my God, why does it always happen to us?" sort of thing. Whereas the first one, I think, definitely wasn't. Whereas the third one, yeah, that's a stonewaller. If that happened to us, we'd be screaming blue murder. Honest to God, it was awful, awful, awful. And as people were telling me at the game yesterday, Ashley Young played well today, actually. And I said to the guy, I said to the guy next to me, "No, that's the Tony Hibbert excuse. That it's not just it's named after Tony Hibbert, but it's basically a way of thinking that's applied to so many Everton players over the years that we've seen, where if they have one game where they're not diabolically bad, one game where they don't do something outrageously stupid that hurts us, we just assume that's them playing well. Basically, the benchmark for them, if they can put in a 3 or a 4 out of 10 performance, then we're happy with that, because we're so used to getting 0s and 1s from them. Young, for me, didn't play well. He should have given away at least one penalty, and he was very lucky to not give away 2. And on another day with another referee, he could have given away 3. So he didn't play well for me. I understand why the manager played him, because Patterson and Coleman are injured, and Godfrey hasn't impressed anyone or looked at all convincing when he's played at right back. So it was either play Young at right back or go for 3 centre-backs with wing-backs. And I don't think Dyche likes that formation, and it's not really worked for us whenever we've tried it. So I understand why Young was in the team, but people who were again trying to say, "Oh, he did really well. People need to get off his back. People are just looking for reasons to have a go at him." No, he did. He was very, very lucky that he didn't cost Everton dear there.
We got lucky
He's
there.
got to be if he's going to be keep getting these opportunities that Dyche keeps giving him, he needs to start raising his level and do better. And if he can't because of his age, if this is as best as he can do, then Everton needs to get him out the team as quickly as he possibly can do. Yeah. So yeah. To sum up, my opinion is I understand Nottingham Forest's anger over the penalty incidents, but Everton would use some luck here because how many penalties have we been denied? I've talked about the Onana one that should never have been given. There was the Bournemouth one a couple of weeks ago, which was nailed on. Do you remember the Fulham one where the lads literally, the defender made a goalie save on the line with his hand?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's one of the most egregious ones of this season of any two teams. The one where we played Craven Cottage a few weeks ago, and the lad basically pushed it off the line with his the lad pushed it off the line with his hand. That was far worse than the Ashley Young one that wasn't given. So it swings and roundabouts in it. If you could say, well, I've seen those given to other teams, you can turn around and say, well, I've seen them not given as well. So the reason Nottingham Forest didn't win isn't because they got cheated by officials. It's just because they turned up and they played absolutely dreadful and they didn't get any luck, which they didn't deserve, really.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've been there ourselves, like you say, so often this season. So from our perspective, you could say it's finally evening itself out a little bit, but regardless, we all just acknowledge that the referees are diabolical. Like we know how bad it is from PDMOL, and we'll touch on that now. Obviously, we'll get through a few other talking points in the game. So we missed one in the first half. Was they were poor for the most part, but Pickford's save from Chris Wood.
Yeah, I mean that was that. But whatever it was, 6-7 seconds of play summed Jordan Pickford up. It showed everyone, every neutral who's watching, why his supporters think he's brilliant and why his detractors can't stand him, because he pulled off an absolute worldie of a save, and then he started celebrating with the crowd. Now, as much as you might like that in the moment and think, oh yeah, go on lad, pump your chest,
he had his back to the play and the ball was
what's he do? It's so great. It's just such a lack of concentration, such a lack of thinking of the team rather than yourself, stopping what you're doing just so you can take the applause. That's what he was doing, essentially. That's why a lot of fans, neutrals, don't like Jordan Pickford and think he shouldn't be in the England team or whatever, or think that Evertonians overrate him, because he has got this sort of part of his game. Yeah, he's got this part of his game, this sort of side of his personality that is just really, really, it tests your patience. It really does, or it does for me, and it does for a lot of people. You pulled off the world brilliant save, celebrate with the crowd at full time, take your plaudits when the result's in the bag, or when the ball's up the other end of the pitch, if you must do it now, if you can't wait. Don't do it when the ball is out on the wing with a Forest player and all he's got to do is pick a man out in the middle and they're one-on-one again. Do you know what I mean? We got away with it because the ball back in from whoever it wasn't any good. There was no one there and he came to claim it quite easily. But yeah, it just summed Jordan Pickford up to a T. World-class save to keep Everton in it. And then he turns around and just does something for me really, really daft and really, really annoying and really, really makes no sense. And he got away with it this time. But if he keeps doing it, there'll be times when he doesn't get away with it. So I do hope that someone maybe had a word with Pickford and said, maybe one of his defenders. I don't think it needs to be a big thing where the manager sort of pulls him in to the office on Monday, or he says it at half time. I just hope someone has a little whisper in his ear in the tunnel and goes, lad, don't do that. Wait until we've won the game. Do you know what I mean? But who knows? Some people might think I'm being negative and I'm nitpicking, but I just like my players to just be switched on at all times and to concentrate on the game whilst the 90 minutes is still ongoing.
Well, do all of this. It's the least we deserve from them when we're sat here biting our nails over it. So
yeah, I get why some fans are all for that, but I just think unless that sort of thing is stamped out, it comes back to bite you in the long term, and I hope it is. But yeah, he did pull off a wonderful save. There's no getting away from that. And if Forest had equalised at that point in the game, then it's a completely different second half.
Of course it is. And on the second half, then obviously we got away with 3 penalties. A lot of those were at 1-0. At this point, Forest were dominating and we really needed the second goal. And the ball comes to McNeil on the edge of the box. And, the edge of the box, I'm thinking, McNeil, just hit it. And he actually hit it and it goes in.
he doesn't do enough of that, or he hasn't done enough of
He
it over the
needs
last
to.
6 months or so. He had a good run at the end of last season where he started getting goals and assists and playing with a bit more freedom. This season, I know he had an injury to start the year, didn't he? He got a bit of a knock in pre-season and he missed the first month or so. It just feels like McNeil has never really fully got up to speed at this point, or whenever he has got up to speed, something else has happened to push him, to hinder him again. But yeah, with the left foot he's got, he needs to be finding space for himself better than he does, and just having a crack at it and forcing the goalkeeper into a save at least. But it's what he's got in his locker. McNeil isn't, an absolutely fantastic, amazing player like Harrison. If he was a lot better than what he is and what he's shown, then I think another team would have come in and took him when Burnley went down. But is he good enough to play for Everton in the current shape Everton are in? Yes. And should he be scoring more for Everton? Considering the amount of games he plays, I think he probably should do, and
He's
I
got
think
the
he's
ability
capable
to
of
do
doing it.
it.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, he's capable of doing it. He just has to believe in himself a bit more, and he needs to just take on a bit more responsibility at times. And hopefully, it'll start again now. He did it last season. He had a torrid time the first 6 months he got here, didn't he? And then in the second half of last year, he turned it all around and showed what an asset he can be. And I want, if he can get back to being that type of player now, if he can have a run of form like that in these last couple of fixtures, then it'll be a massive, massive plus for us. But yeah, it was a fantastic goal. Might be the best goal he scored since he got here. Because how many goals has he scored now? 9 or 10? I think that was his
Yeah, most of
second.
them have been pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, the one he scored at the City ground against Forest
Well,
earlier
that
on
was
the
a belter.
season. That was a good one, but it was on the angle. That was a lot closer to the box. I think he scored a decent one. I'm trying to think of one he had last season.
The
Never
one at
mind.
Brighton in 5-1 was good at the end as well. He
Yeah.
slammed it
That
top
was.
in.
How many goals is he on for the season now? Is that his third? He got the one. He's got two and two against Forest. Has he got another one somewhere?
Yeah, I think he has done. He got one against Newcastle at Goodson.
Yeah, that was the one I was trying
I
to
think
think
he
of.
might
Yeah,
have another one as well, but I can't remember. But
right. Yeah, it's like McNeil. He should be setting himself a target of getting. They call it goal involvement out now, don't they? When you add goals and assists together, he should be looking to get into double figures for goal involvement easily, because I think he's good enough to do that, and he's good enough to be getting maybe
I think
half
he
a
should be
dozen
pushing
goals.
about 50. I think he should be pushing about 15 goal involvements. Personally,
Just
he's got the ability for it.
Well, yeah, a lot of that depends on who he's got to link up with as well. He could be the
Mm.
best crosser of the ball in the world. There's no point being that when he's got a donkey in the box to meet it. But he's good enough. I think he's got the foot on him, the left foot peg, to be having more shots at goal and be taking free kicks. He doesn't seem to take many direct free kicks for Everton either. When we get them, we always tend to give them to Gomez or to give them to Harrison. And I think James Garner's took a lot of them as well. So I'd like to see McNeil on set pieces a lot more and having a crack at goal. But yeah, if he can get half a dozen goals for Everton consistently year on year, then I think he'd get a lot less stick than what he gets. But yeah, it was a brilliant goal. And the minute it went in, I think everyone knew that was game over, essentially. I know there was a ton of added time. I think it was 9 minutes,
Yeah.
which seemed a bit steep for me. I knew there'd be about 5 or 6 at least, but at 9,
9. What the hell was that all about?
maybe I just counted it up wrong. But yeah, 9 minutes at a time. But even in that period of added time, before obviously Beto got hurt and we had to pause for ages, even when the 9 got held up on the board, fans were grumbling a bit, thinking, where's that come from? But there wasn't like this surge of anxiety, which is what the would have been if it was 1-0, and like there was against Burnley. We just think, oh my God, we're hanging on for dear life here. I didn't get the impression that we were hanging on at all, even though it was only
No,
2-0.
we were quite comfortable, I think. But on the Beto one, obviously, like that was really nasty, and he went off injured on a stretcher. He did come round and wave to the fans as he was going off.
Yeah, it was.
That came out that he's actually okay, which is
Yeah,
like, or
it
he's
looked like it was a bang on the head. He's just knocked himself out. When it was happening on the pitch and all the players were kind of like putting their heads in their hands and looking like they were really, really worried. The body language of the medical team who were coming on the pitch kind of reassured me from where I was that it wasn't an absolute emergency situation. I know they brought the stretcher on, but they weren't sprinting over. They weren't doing all this with their hands. They weren't um, all crowding around him in a circle to protect him from the cameras, that sort of thing. That reassured me as a fan watching, thinking, all right, this is not Christian Eriksen or anything like that. This is not someone like convulsing where we need to get them in an ambulance straight away. It was a case of someone's just took a really bad whack and hopefully we can
Out
get him on. We
cold.
can get him out the grounds, and then he can go to where he needs to go to get taken care of. But yeah, it was scary for about 10 seconds, but the fact that the medical team from where I was sat looked like they had the situation under control and
Yeah,
that
they
they weren't.
handled it really well.
Yeah, the fact that they weren't as frantic as you've seen in other situations made me think, yeah, he's probably knocked himself out going off for that, and hopefully it's not too bad. But it's not a case of, oh my God, like this is Tom Lockyer at Bournemouth, this is Christian Eriksen, there's an emergency situation going on here. So thankfully he's okay. He's been active on social media. He did I didn't see the thumbs up as he was going off the ground, getting stretched out, but I saw it when I got out the ground about half an hour afterwards, and you think, all right, that's a good sign. He's probably back in training on Monday as long as he gets the all clear. But with concussion protocol, he's probably out of the next 2 games now. How long is it? You've got to have a week.
10 days, I think. Yeah.
10 days. Well, if it's 10 days, that means he's out of Wednesday and Saturday, the next 2 home games. But I'd rather that's probably a drop in the ocean if you think of what it could have been, a type of injury where if it was anything similar to what happened to the Luton captain or to Christian Eriksen, you think, bloody hell, we might not ever see him again. Or if we do, it might not be for 6 months. So, yeah, thankfully he's all right, and it's not really a big talking point. It's not something that is going to ingrain itself in any supporter or players' minds, which is what can easily happen when these horrible things occur.
It was just good to see him. He obviously went out on social media later on and made a few posts, and that just reassured people a bit further, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's not anything that's going to last in the memory. It's not anything that's going to scar anyone. Hopefully, so.
Yeah, hopefully he's back pretty soon anyway. And then obviously after the game, though, we've got the big talking point is Forest took the defeat, should we say, less than gracefully.
Yeah.
He wrote a very obscene tweet, didn't he?
The way my take on this is, personally, I'm all for a Premier League club actually coming out and trying to take on the PGMOL and
Absolutely.
trying to force through, hopefully, a positive change. Because I think the refereeing in this country is
Shocking.
disgraceful, shocking, disgraceful, diabolical, nonsensical, and it has been for years now. And it seems to only get worse every season. It's got worse than it ever was before VAR, and we thought it was terrible then. Because I remember most people at least, couldn't wait for VAR to come in because we thought it would clamp down on all these mistakes. And if anything, VAR is only
exacerbated.
Yeah, it exacerbates just how bad the standard of officiating is. Now, I agree with sort of Forest's feelings, but I think the way they've gone about this is just. I'm not even going to be as harsh as some of the people who say, how dare they question the integrity? Oh, it's a disgrace what they've done. I think they've just ripped the nose off to spite the face. I think they should have worded it a lot better than what they did, because I think the point that they were trying to make now has just been lost amongst all the
jokes.
Yeah, all the jokes and all the indignation of them essentially accusing the VAR fella of being a cheat, saying he's a Luton fan. I think if they'd have worded that tweet differently, if they'd have said something like, we raised what we thought were legitimate concerns to the authorities. We felt the authorities just completely ignored us without taking anything we said on board. And we've been proven right now. And this, for us, just shows that it's not fair that the PGMOL can just completely ignore clubs when they feel like they're getting legitimately, mistreated. If they'd have worded something like that, a bit gently or gentle, then I think they'd be getting
he's a Luton fan, and so it's one of those.
They'd be getting a lot more support, I think, across the general football spectrum, and I think it would start a conversation that definitely has to be started. Yeah, it's a long overdue conversation. I just think the way that they went about it, whether it was just some lad in the office who's been handed the social media account, whether it was the owner himself, because I know Forest's owner is a bit of an eccentric. Yeah, you worded it better than I could. I was just going to go with eccentric, but he's a very hot-headed character. The Greek man who owns whatever his name is. Everyone knows who he is. He's a big fella with a beard, and he always has a white shirt sticking out of his front of his pants. Because he's such a hothead, I wouldn't be surprised if that came directly from him, or if he wrote that out himself and demanded it get posted. But just the wording of what they've put out, I think they've just not. All they've done is make the situation worse for themselves. they've undermined what they've done. The message that they were trying to put out there, and the conversation they were trying to start has been lost now, because they've just given, the likes of the Sky pundits and the TalkSport crowd, they've just given them loads of content to just pour over for days and pick apart and make a joke out of and act outraged by. I saw Gary Neville on Sky, and I like Gary Neville for his takes on football most of the time, but I think he was completely wrong in this, because what he said, and it shows the naivety of him, that he'd never played for anyone else under Sir Alex Ferguson. He said, well, Nottingham Forest should just send the manager out or send the captain out and have them just talk about how disappointed they are and how upset they are that they're not getting a fair shake. Gary, do you know what I mean? Exactly. He said, because we used to do that. We used to always send Sir Alex Ferguson out, or one of our big name players, like the captain. Gary, that was Sir Alex Ferguson, who had decades worth of stock built up, where if he spoke, then everyone in football in this country would sit up and take notice, even if he was talking the biggest load of rubbish ever. If Nuno Espirito Santo or Neco Williams or Morgan Gibbs-White or whoever you want comes out and just says, "Oh, we think it was not fair, the officiating,"
these arrogant pigmol just find them.
It gets it's forgotten about by Sunday. It gets maybe 5 minutes on Match of the Day at the most, and then it's completely forgotten about and nothing changes. We've done it. Sean Dyche, how many times has Dyche been coming out and being maybe not as forceful as Everton fans want him to be, but he's made the point of, we think the officiating's not evening itself out. I think his words is, what have we got to do to get a penalty? If you just do that, if you try and play nice with these people, you get nowhere. Now, as much as I don't like him, and as much as I think what he said was bang out of order, what Klopp said a couple of months ago about, as much as everyone was laughing at him, saying, "Oh, we need to replay the game," I think the one against Tottenham where they got the goal disallowed. Now, as stupid as that was, he knew exactly what he was doing when he said that. He was creating a story so in future officials would be too worried to give decisions against Liverpool, because they feared that they'd get a reaction.
And they did that to us in the very next game.
Yeah.
It was the Canate and Beto incident, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what managers do, especially managers who've got a big name, who've maybe won some trophies or have got good relationships with the media. They come out and they say something really nonsensical and to try and get their point across. But not every manager can do that. Nuno Espirito Santo hasn't got, hipsters in the media fawning over his every word and talking about how brilliant a coach he is. Nottingham Forest are not a fashionable club where if they kick off, then again, all the favourite people in the media who like Nottingham Forest are going to stick up for them and, create an environment where the officials are too scared to give anything against Nottingham Forest. So all of this, Forest have gone about it the wrong way. I kind of get all of that, but for people to throw their hands up and act like, what Forest have said is a disgrace, they're bringing the integrity of the game into question, bore off, because there's a lot of other clubs and a lot of other managers who've done even worse than that, and they get away scot-free with it. So I think Forest are right. I think they're picking the right fight, and I'm all with them on that. And I hope that they do force through some kind of change. I just think they needed to be cleverer about it, because what they've done is just made themselves into a bit of a banter. They've just turned themselves into a meme now. They've letting everyone have a banter about it, and it's just very easy to pull apart and rip them. And Paddy Powers and people like that.
Undermine the message, hasn't it? I think. But,
that's a good way of putting it. They're completely undermined their own message.
On the note of that, though, can we just have a discussion about our best mate, Mark Clattenburg, and his basically his Wikipedia at one stage called it a different job. They call it referee analyst, but I'm calling it referee and lobbyist, and that appears to be what it is, because he's gone straight to the Daily Mail and typed up an article which may have some valid points, like I might say, but what does that say about the credibility of Forest?
I'll sound off on Mark Clattenburg. Mark Clattenburg was a shit referee and a massive egotist who cares nothing about his wallet. He was in the middle of his refereeing career and he sodded off to Saudi Arabia for all of their money. He quit being a ref to go run the Saudi FA. Now, what person in their right mind wants to go run the Saudi FA? A tiny football nation like that, unless they're getting a massive pay packet. So, and he's doing this now. He's took the job at Nottingham Forest to basically to fan the flames, because, as I said, they've got an owner who's a hothead and believes in conspiracy theories and wants to put it out there. Mark Clattenburg is not stupid. He's thought that's an easy wage packet for me. That if I just go in there and tell this lunatic owner that all these conspiracies that he believes in is right, then I'll get a handsome wage out of that. And that's all he's bothered about. He was a crap referee. If you're going to hire an ex-referee to be your referee analyst or whatever it is, or referee lobbyist, hire a Mark Clattenburg, who was famously terrible and was famous for having a big ego and for ruining big games with stupid decisions and talking to players and managers like he was above them, like he was someone big and important just because he's got a black shirt on with cards in his pocket. I can't stand Mark Clattenburg, and I think Forest should get rid of him because he clearly doesn't do anything good for them. If he's allowed that tweet to go out, then it shows that how seriously he takes his job. Because if he had any common sense and he cared about Nottingham Forest as his employer, he would have said to someone, "Don't put that out." Even though I agree with your sentiments, if you put that out, your message is going to get lost. You're just undermining your own arguments here. Let's just take a minute and think about wording this a bit better. But he doesn't do that. He does the complete opposite. He just doubles down by writing a nonsensical article in the Daily Mail.
The money.
Yeah, he's appealing to an audience of one, really, and that audience is the Nottingham Forest owner. So, and he's on, yeah, you mentioned he's on Gladiators on the BBC. If he's working full time for Nottingham Forest as a football analyst and he's working on an ITV show, Gladiators, then how seriously is he taking his full time job with Forest? He's just all about is getting his name out there and getting money. That's all he's ever been about. And I think any football club, if they want to have a football analyst in their employment, they can do a lot better than him.
Well, yeah, I think it says a lot about his career. Like you say, he's gone from the Premier League to the Saudi League to the Chinese League to the Egyptian League to Gladiators and now a consultancy role of Forest. And he had a Daily Mail lobbyist apparently as well.
I just don't like the fella. I never have liked him ever since that infamous Goodison derby, and that's not lost on me either. The irony of him complaining about his team not getting penalties at Goodison when the most famous game he's ever refereed, the most infamous match of his career was him being diabolically shit and not giving stonewall penalties. So yeah, the irony of that's not lost on anyone either.
Absolutely.
So Mark Clattenburg, I've got sympathy for Forest and Forest fans, but Mark Clattenburg can bore off, and I really wish people would stop giving that shill work. I really do, because he was a terrible referee. He's got no integrity as far as I'm concerned, and he doesn't sound like a very nice, reputable fella either when you consider some of the people he's jumped into bed with for the money. Like you said, the Saudi FA and the Egyptian FA and whatever else he's been, and ITV. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, bore off Mark Clattenburg. I'm glad that we've smacked your team and that you're not happy about it.
I mean, it's about time we gave something back to him after October 2007. Like, I think, like you say, it's not lost on me, the mate. So, if small wins, but a massive win, the big one really. Let's focus on the big one, that we've won a really important 6 points at Everton 2, Nottingham Forest 0 is a crucial win, and hopefully one that might set us in the right direction. You never know, we might.
5 points clear with a game in hand, with only a month or so of the season to go. 3-4 weeks ago, we'd have snapped your arm off for that. So, yeah, job's not done yet, but the world seems a lot brighter than it did.
The light at the end of the tunnel, at least.
Hopefully. So, yeah, I think just one more. I think for 3 more points, and we're absolutely safe. I think.
Yeah.
So, and we've got 5 games to get our 3 points. So, yeah, let's just enjoy this win, because the few and far between, especially comfortable ones, are good.
We know what's coming next as well. So there's a small matter of a derby coming up, and I'm not looking forward to that. So let's be happy for a couple of days. We'll leave it at that. Everton 2, Nottingham Forest 0. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let us know your opinions on the game. Get your comments in. Like we say, loads of talking points. Get your opinions in. Comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.